The final round of the Shannon's Australian Motor Racing Nationals at Sandown in Victoria. Young gun Shay Davies leads the Kumho V8 Touring Car Championship ahead of Terry Waihoon, and the margin is 96 points. There's 143 up for grabs this weekend.
I don't see a winner here, I only see losers. Now Waihoon locks it up. Davies is back down the inside to the race lead. 3 wide, he's locked it up. Contact between all three.
Gets into Geary and they all run wide. The histories of cars in the Kumho series is a major interest point for fans and racers alike. For Queenslander Lyle Kearns, he drives Miss Daisy, literally. His distinctive black Commodore was built by Paul Morris Motorsport in Queensland and was named Daisy back in 2004. He's the modern-day privateer, but can't help but smile when he gets behind the wheel.
It was always been a dream of mine since I was a young boy to look at touring cars and V8 supercars, and had an opportunity to purchase one and went out and had a bit of a crack and never really intended to race. We just wanted to have a bit of a play around as a few mates, and then everyone said, well, hang on, you've got all this gear that came with the car, how about you have a race? So we went out and got amongst it. We rely on our sponsors at the moment, and we have some great sponsors at the moment. ADG Engineering, based in Brisbane, and those guys have been supporting us now for a couple of years. Also, the company that I work for, Precise Precut, they've been fantastic in allowing me to come racing.
Like all cars in the Kumho series, this one has plenty of V8 history, raced by Morris himself as well as Alan Gurr, Fabian Coulthard and Steve Ellery. It raced in the development series in the hands of Damien White, Ute star Andrew Fisher and young gun Brent McCashney before Kearns purchased it.
What attracted me to this was certainly the ability to have support up in Queensland where we are based, and not far from the Paul Morris Motorsport precinct. Essentially, it's got some pretty good smarts in it, and probably in the back in its day it was probably a little bit sort of over-engineered for its time, but based on some of the newer cars that are coming through the series now, they've definitely moved in leaps and bounds. It's a great series to get into, and look, it is now essentially like a third tier in the supercar system. So we're seeing a lot of guys not driving V8 Utes anymore, but they're coming to V8 touring cars. We're looking for a big season next year as well, and yeah, we're already planning ahead.
Let's have a look at some highlights from race 2. It was a great start from Matt Hansen. He went down the inside, couldn't hold the position that he'd gained, and Ryan Simpson led the field down. There were dramas at turn 2. That old rivalry, Shay Davies and Matt Hansen continued. Hansen came off second best. That brought out the safety car, and there was contact at the restart. Steve Briffer getting into Matt Palmer's number 48 Ford and firing it off the road. The fisticuffs continued. Shay Davies and Jack LeBrock got into each other in the final complex at Sandown, and that contact would earn Shay a drive-through penalty. Matt Charter and Terry Waihoon got stuck into each other at turn 2 in what was turning out to be an action-packed race. Shay took his drive-through penalty with not too many laps to go. Fortunately, he'd already racked up the championship in race 1 on Saturday. And then there were dramas at turn 1. Ian Yang and Paul Panisi. Panisi fired the car off, destroyed a Kumho sign, and ended up in the undergrowth, way out at turn 1. At the end, it was 9 wins in a row for Ryan Simpson. He beat out Matt White. Time for the final race of the year in the Kumho V8s, as it has been all season long. Aaron Noonan, Richard Craill with you for this, and it's been a great year. Hasn't the racing been good fun?
Really enjoyed it, Rich. Had an absolute ball, not just working alongside you, because we've had lots of good fun. We're on board here with Steve Briffer in the Aussie Tyres Commodore. He saved up some new rubber for this final race, so let's see if he can make some speed. Matthew Hansen back on the grid. There he is, the HRT Commodore, the 2006 Bathurst pole-sitting car. In fact, I've got a feeling he and Shay Davies might find their way together on the track at this point, because there's been a bit of a rumble all year between these two, and when Davies took his pit lane penalty, there was Hansen out in the lane shaking the fist. So oh, it could be interesting. Yeah, well, it started at Winton, didn't it? And that rumbled on, and it continues for the remainder of the year. So we love a bit of rivalry in the sport. So the big question in this is, can Ryan Simpson make it 10 and extend an already record-breaking Kumho V8 Series streak? Or will somebody else get up in the final race of the year? What about Tony Evangeli? He's been solid this weekend. 3rd in race 2. They're underway.
Not a great start for Evangelou on the second row of the grid. Waihoon away well. So too Matt Hansen in that bright red ex-HRT Commodore. Good start as he makes ground, but it's status quo out in front. Ryan Simpson leads them to 1. Waihoon's going to second. Great start from the Lubramax forward.
He's through to second, and that is a great start. Has he got the car pace to stay there? Evangelou makes a really good run off the exit of 1 and goes around the outside and rounds him up. Good move there. Waihoon, though, tries to drop back into the gap. Won't get it done. White's in the fight. LeBrock's in the fight. While they're all fighting, Simpson's gone.
Disappeared up the road. What a fantastic battle between two of the most experienced drivers in Kumho V8 history in two very good cars. And nice to see Terry Waihoon at the front. There's Ian Yang, ex-Greg Murphy Super Cheap Auto Racing Commodore, just in the back of the field. McLeod getting wrapped up by Briffa around the outside. Jared's been complaining a little bit of straight line performance in that car. Thinks they're down on horsepower, but otherwise it's been a very solid debut in a V8 for the V8 Ute racer.
And in the background you saw Simon Taverner on the move forward in the ex-Brad Jones racing car, but Simpson has pushed clear. Now Matthew White and Terry Waihoon, these two shared a car, remember, years ago at the Queensland 500, and they ran right up towards the top 10, but White's got the over and under here down the inside on the run to turn 1. Oh, Jack LeBrock, right rear tyre, rubbing on the guard. Matt Chardy going with him, then Hansen, then Shea Davies, and then Maury Pickering, the Finance Easy Ford that he missed Friday practice. Young Andre Heimgartner ran some laps to help set that car up, and he's looking at his plans for next year, Maury, in terms of putting a young driver potentially in this car. But next year, we've still got to get done with this year. This is Briffa. Gone. Around goes Maury.
Well, his plans for next year might be up for discussion. His race 3 plans aren't, because he's facing the wrong way at turn 2.
I had a good segue there into how next year's building and there's new cars coming in the series, and then the guys go and turn on some on-track action on me. Great
fight at the front, and Ryan Simpson just driving away like he's done all season. Here's LeBrock. That smoke seems to have cleared now, so the guard's just cleared away from the Kumho tyre in the rear of that car. They're on the load into the final corner behind them. Charter goes around and Hansen gets into him. Gee, it's been a wretched weekend for Matty Hansen.
It was only a light tap. That's all's required over the run through the S's at Dandenong Road, because the cars are so unloaded. There's no weight virtually in the rear. It's all on the front nose, and around goes Charter. So he'll have to come charging back through the field. How good is this look, though? Old liveried cars, HRT Team Dynamic. I had a Mark Escape, Jason Richards flashback then.
Sandown, yeah, fantastic finish to the 500 a couple of years ago. Many years ago, actually.
10 years ago.
Seems like yesterday. So let's have another look at this. Matt Charter, they're all unloaded over the bumps. LeBrock goes down the inside, and from behind Matt Charter, Matt Hansen, I think, a bit of a hit in the rear bumper bar, turned him round.
Here's Simpson, though. Evangelou second. White, LeBrock, Waihoon, Davies. I mentioned about next year. Have a look at this. It's all Fords at the front. There are a couple of pretty fast Commodores coming to join this series. Ben Eggleston's team has confirmed they've purchased 2 ex-Toll HSV dealer team cars for next year, Commodore VZs, and one of them is the Rick Kelly Championship winning car from 2006, and they're going to test some young drivers in the next couple of weeks before planning what they're up to in 2014. So all sorts of drivers and teams planning a program for next year's Kumho series. And great news too, Kumho Tyres have confirmed another 3 years on their supply contract for this series. So good stability all around this category. More and more, we've said it every round, but it is more and more becoming an unofficial third tier of V8 supercars. And there's teams in the development category looking at this one to run young drivers in and take away some of the exposure that is in that high level pressure of the development category.
Here's Matt White down the inside of Tony Evangelou at turn 1 and gets it done. Nice move. On that note, MW Motorsport, they've been in DVS for a long time, in the Kumho series now as well. So too the Egglestons, and if anyone questions their qualifications, well, just have a look at the form of Jack Perkins this year and Daniel Gaunt on occasion in those 2 cars in DVS. So some great front-running teams. Image Racing have been, Briffa in the background, just to turn 4, lost the rear of the Aussie Tyres car and spun just at the top of screen. So he's just looped that car around on the run onto the start-finish straight. But to finish the point, great to see the DVS teams flowing into the Kumho series, and it's just going to get more and more competitive this year. We thought the racing's been great this season. It's got the potential to be even better next year, Nunes.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking here at Tony Evangelou, that 501 Performance 4. This is Shea Davies down the inside on Terry Waihoon. So the guys who have been fighting right throughout the course of 2013 are together on the road, and Briffa is still parked down at turn 4 onto the back straight. and not refiring. So that will bring out the safety car and that will tighten things up.
Yeah, so it's just out of turn 4, which is a slow, tricky corner. Got to get the power down. Here's a look. Oh, he missed the turning by a fair while. Maybe a mechanical issue. Wasn't anywhere near the apex, and around he goes, and lucky to keep it out of the fence there at turn 4. So the rest of the field goes by, and then the car stops. So dramas for Steve Briffett. That's a shame, because he was having a very competitive performance, and he's built up as the season's gone on, has been competitive since the first round. Now, restart. This brings Matt White back into the game with Ryan Simpson. That big lead is extinguished, and it's back on.
On board with Matt Palmer. There's contact on the restart there. That's Lyle Kearns to the right. There must have been overlapping going on there. That was wild stuff.
Feisty stuff. The run to the start-finish line. Kearns has got dramas.
And he had dramas in race 1. That's why he's got a different coloured front bumper bar, because they had to repair this car. Look at this drama. Begonis ends up spun off the front of Charter. Kearns is wiped out. Craziness in the mid-pack.
Very messy stuff. And Kearns is not going anywhere. Simpson holds on to his lead. Matt White next. Then it's Savangelo third. LeBrock fourth. And the champion, Shea Davies, P5.
And all that margin that Ryan Simpson had gone under the safety car. So it gives Matthew White the Performance West Ford just a little bit of a sniff. Oil flag on display. Slippery surface flag. That's the yellow and red stripe flag. And that's obviously what's come from the Jared McLeod car. And you can see it everywhere. Down at Dandenong Road corner. It is all over the road. So they're going to have to pick and choose their lines and get away from that oil. It's not possible that maybe Steve Gripper had that drama earlier on, and there may have been a little bit of oil on the road earlier before the safety car.
You could see Waihoon really searching for the grip and trying to find his way through. And he's off the road too at the final corner. So Waihoon off the road, really struggling in the Lubramax car. What a drama. So plenty of issues down. That was Tabanor going by.
Who's flying, by the way. He started down the back of the pack and he's moving. So too is Jack LaRock trying to get a move here.
Waved yellows at turn 1. No overtaking. So those cars, we assume, still on the inside of the road. Yeah, there's Lyle Kearns still parked there. So no passing until they get to the next flag point, the next green flag. So LeBrock looking to run one up the inside of Tony Evangelou if he can. And Davies watching on behind. Matt White going out after our race leader.
Look at Simon Tabanor. He is starting to really move through the field. He's just in the back of that shot. Let's have a look again at this restart. On board with Matt Palmer. Oh, there's contact. Kearns is there. And Kearns, in fact, has bounced off the inside pit wall. Here's another replay. This stuff should not be going on restarts.
No, that was big contact too, and you can see how hard he had to hold on from inside. And this is Begonis and Kearns just completing that incident, which started 600 or 700 metres earlier on in that lap, and just ending up parked off the side of the road. Big lock up from Davies. He's P5, looking at the back of Jack LaBrock, the reigning Australian Formula Ford champion, and a man who's driven just about everything. Tom for the lead. Matt White right around the outside of Ryan Simpson, and Ryan is back to second for the first time since I don't know when.
A long time ago. You'd have to go right through the spreadsheets to find that one, but Matthew White has pounced and built margin within a corner or two. He's off and running, so Brocky never won 10 Sandown 500s. It looks like Ryan's not going to win 10 Kumho races.
Well, it would have been race 2 at Winton midway through the year, I would have thought, because he won race 3. So it's been a remarkable streak since then for Ryan Simpson, but Matt White, using all of his guile and experience, works his way past. Must have got very good power down out of Dandenong Road, through alongside, got the pass done. So White to first, Simpson to second, Evangelou holding on to third, but LeBrock continuing to apply the pressure.
Tony Evangelou in that Cat Ford, there it is, the 501 Performance Team car. This is the ex-Jason Bright Bahrain winner from 2006, and in fact, this car and a recently purchased ex-Team Dynamic Jason Richards car, the team are going to run next year. They're open for business in terms of leases and the like for drivers who are lining up to sort themselves out a deal for next year. But look at them all narrow into Dandenong Road. LeBrock locks the left front. You can tell he's a rookie in this game. He's still learning the way that they brake these cars, the way they drive these cars. They're much heavier than some of the stuff that he's raced before. He's finding his way. He's a talented young racing driver. He is going places, and this is a nice little introduction to V8 style racing that doesn't come with the same pressure as perhaps a development series weekend.
Just a little error, and there's been a few of them this weekend, but he otherwise has been pretty happy with the way he's worked up to speed. And I know that Matt White team there were jokes in the pit lane. I saw them both on Friday, and Matt was going, if he goes any faster, I'm going to start detuning his car a little bit because I don't want to be beaten by him.
A few other teams have been inspired to run, I should say, heritage period liveries that really do make these cars stand out, particularly when you sit in the main grandstand here at Sandown. They flash past, and Jack LeBrock, the funny thing is he's driving a car that wore the Cat colours here at Sandown to win the 500 with Jason Bright and Mark Winterbottom back in 2006. And that's the other great part about the series. All of these cars have a story, they have a history in both the V8 series and also in the development category. So that's another great tier, another great element of this category that we enjoy it so much. And I know that's why the fans are starting to really connect with this category too.
The thing I really like about it too, Noons, is how you can get drivers from completely different walks of life and different experiences and backgrounds. Take Tony Evangeli, for example. He's been there, he's done that. He's raced in the main game, DBS, all kinds of different series. Jack LeBrock, fresh out of Formula Ford, has been racing some sports cars, some open wheelers. They're at different points in their career, and here they are. They're battling it out for third and fourth position in the final race of the year, putting on a great show and some great cars. 1 lap to go at Sandown, 1 lap to go for the year in the Kumho V8s. And this has been a great fight between, well, most of the field, let's be honest. It's been great, and the streak, it looks like, Noons, may come to an end because Matt White's got a few turns to go to bring it home.
I've got to say, Rich, this is a sad final lap of 2013 because it means we have to wait 5 months for the first lap of 2014 when the championship recommences at Malala Motorsport Park. Round 1 next year will be late in April around the Anzac Day weekend. So quite an off-season for the Kumho Series teams and drivers and commentators as well. But out front, Matthew White only has a couple of corners to go to record his first Kumho Series race win and his team's first since Morgan Haber at Queensland last year.
Well, final few corners, the streak may come to an end, but it's certainly been a dominant second half of the season for Ryan Simpson. But the final race of the Kumho year goes to Matty White. A great performance. He fought and brought it home. He got the victory. Simpson second and gets second in the championship, which is remarkable after missing the first couple of rounds, and it has been utterly dominant. Davies through. This fight will go to the line. Matt Charter and Terry Wyhoon due to be close, and Hanson in there too, representing the GM flag. He gets close but doesn't quite get close to Ben.
And Simon Tabanoff at the back of the field gets to position 9. Let's see what he can do in 2014. Ian Yang's in the top 10 again. He's had a breakout weekend in the Super Cheap Auto THR Run Commodore. He finishes his season in style, but it's Matthew White who wins the race. Second for the round, Ryan Simpson picks up the weekend overall.
Next year there's going to be a few more faces in the category, and hopefully a bit more competition up the front, and yeah, definitely we'll be going for the championship next year, that's for sure.
Relieved to have it all done and wrapped up, and it's been a really tough year, but obviously overwhelmed to have the championship. We did win a few races, but we didn't get that round victory that we wanted, but yeah, that's just the way it is. We're podium every round so far, so yeah, it's all good.
It was all good for Shay Davies. He wins the Kumho V8 Touring Car Series, his first major national title as well. Ryan Simpson from nowhere to second in the dominant second half of the year. Wyhoon third, Evangeli fourth, and Matt Hanson the first of the Holdens, completing the top 5 ahead of Steve Ripper, Nathan Assailant, Matt White and Morgan Haber. Happy smiling faces on the podium for the final round of the Kumho V8 Touring Car Series, and what a year it's been. That's the final round for the V8s, but after the break we'll see action for the Dial Before You Dig Saloon Cars, Carrick Sports Sedans.